The date is July 12, 1991, a warm summer night in Fall River. 25-year-old Nadine Mendonca gets in her car and drives to Pleasant Street.
We just left a wake, and she went to go shoot some dots at Jake's.
It's a bar she frequented often, but what started as an ordinary night out for Nadine suddenly took a turn.
She met a gentleman, and I assume about closing time, they left Jake's, and she was never found again after that.
That night was the last time Sean Mendonca spoke to his sister, a memory that has haunted him for the past 31 years.
It's hard to explain because it just gnaws you right inside your stomach, right in your heart. You got something taken away from you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
When Nadine's family didn't hear from her after the wake, they feared the worst.
She would call every night, talk to my mother, talk to my father. And when we found out she hadn't called Friday night, Saturday she didn't call, Sunday she didn't call. I even drove by the house. Her car wasn't there at all.
You immediately knew that something was wrong.
Yep, absolutely. 24
hours after Nadine was last seen, Sean and his father reported her missing to Fall River Police.
2 weeks later, her vehicle was found in Weld Square in New Bedford, Massachusetts.
The driver's window of the 1980 Monte Carlo was smashed in, blood found in the trunk. The discovery sending shockwaves through Nadine's parents.
I'm afraid. I have to accept whatever's to come.
Nadine's parents, Rita and Fernando, passed away years later without ever knowing what happened to their daughter.
I told my dad just before he died in 2017, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. We're going to find out who killed my sister and bring him to justice.
You promised him that?
Absolutely.
News articles from the early 90s show police interviewed the man who Nadine drove home that warm July night, but ruled him out as a suspect. That left one final piece of evidence, her car found in Weld Square.
I think the Weld Square aspect to it is concerning because that was connected to the highway killings, which remain unsolved at this point.
In the early 90s, police ruled out a connection between those murders and Nadine's disappearance, but to this day, Sean is convinced his sister was the victim of a crime.
She was murdered.
While police have never been able to prove that, DNA was in its infancy when Nadine vanished. Now, new advancements are giving investigators renewed hope.
That's another case that we're focusing on, again, potentially to bring closure, at least to the identification, and to determine potentially if this criminal activity was involved.
For Sean, it's about finding out what really happened to his sister, fulfilling the promise he made to his father moments before he died.
I would bring peace to me and my family.
Nadine would be 56 years old today. She was 5 feet tall and 95 pounds with brown hair, frosted tips, and brown eyes when she was last seen. If you have any information, you can call 508-961-1918. For the NBC Tonight team, I'm Tamara Sakarczyk.